Hi, Lisa Christensen here, and I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful poinsettia card. It's so fun to make. This whole idea came from Jean Haines, so I want to give the credit where credit is due. Jean Haines does amazing floral uh, watercolors, and I took her technique as from the fine arts and then brought it to the card making. So hopefully you'll get the translation between fine arts into card making. So let's get started. I'm excited to show you. So this poinsettia stamp is actually the stamp right here from Blue Night Stamps, and I actually cut off the stem because I didn't need the stem for this card and it was just getting in the way. So, and then I actually made a mask. I had to make a mask to get them to look like they're overshadowed. So you're going to need that mask. All right, so we're going to get this on. I'm working with mixed media paper, Strathmore mixed media paper, and that is super important. I'm using black archival ink. Of course, that's my favorite from Ranger. Here's my ink. I may have, and I'm going to start, I just like to start, it really doesn't, I like to start kind of at the top and work my way down. And so I'm going to go off the paper a little bit because I want it to look, all right, then we go to the next one. And I'm going to put this mask right on top. This is just copy paper. I just stamped it with copy paper. All right, so I stamped it this way. I don't want to stamp it again. I want it to look different. So I'm going to stamp it more like this. I'm going to rotate it. That would be clockwise. So I rotated this counterclockwise. Now I'm doing this clockwise. And I'm just going to stamp kind of where I think I want it. I'm not thinking about it too much. There, perfect. Then when you look that up, you get that. So it looks like that flower is behind. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Maybe. And again, it like doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. All right, and then I'm always looking. I want the flower center to be kind of on the paper, and I don't want it to be covered up. So I'm kind of being careful where I'm placing it. I'm hoping that will work. We'll see. It will. Look at that. All right, so now we have this beautiful stamped image. Now let's get to the really fun part, which is the painting part of it. And while I do that, I'm gonna kind of clean this up. And the archival ink will stain it, but that's okay. This board came from a print shop for like $1. I mean, it's so cheap. Anyways, I start on this side first, and I'm using, this is Kuretake's Gansai Tambo Gansai, whatever. They're Japanese watercolor from Kureatake. And I am just gonna, I have like this pink clump I don't really want. Okay. And I'm gonna outline this whole thing. So this is called negative painting. This is what Jean Haines love. Like this is like one of her styles that she loves to paint is negative painting. And of course, I'm going to be using lots of water. And I just love how simple and elegant this will look. And I'm hoping that you can get it. Now, if you go into the lines, that's okay. So what I'm doing right now is a negative wash is really what it's called. I'm adding a light layer of pigment. And then I can go back. And because water goes where water is, I can then just dab in water and it's not going to go into the dry paper. A lot of people think, oh, it's so hard to control watercolor. It really isn't if you know where your water is on the paper. And because we're just dealing with like one color pigment, it's really not too hard. And I like that. Okay. Okay, so now that we have that, while it's still just a little bit wet and I have a little bit of pigment on my brush, I'm going to go in and I'm just adding some water to the petals. And the green's going to look really vibrant, but it's really not, because I'm going to go back in and just kind of take away some of that. And watercolor always dries a lot lighter once it's dried. So even though it looks like there's a little bit of green, when it dries, it's just going to look like there's not much green to it. And you want it to look, you don't want it to be stark white. And if you don't like something, you can always blot it up with a paper towel and just dry your brush off and start again. And it's really just kind of, for me, it's therapeutic, because I could spend all day just painting these and adding a little bit of pigment wherever I feel like it. I'm not worrying about the bottom leaves yet, the bottom petals, because I will get that with my other side. With painting with watercolor, you always want to go with the shape of the petal or the shape of whatever you're painting, and that will help it look painterly, I guess is a good word. And if I need a little bit of extra green, I just go in where I already had green and add it. Not. All right, now you're going to think, oh, that still looks green. That's okay. Okay, let's go to this side. This side is a little bit interesting because I like to wet the whole thing. If you had a bigger brush, you could totally use a bigger brush. I only brought my small. This is a size 6 round by Simply Simmons. It has a very fairly stiff brush point, but I like it because it's long and it holds a lot of pigment, which is what you want. Or water. It holds a lot of water, pigment. It's just, you can get a good juicy brush out of it. All right, so I got that side wet pretty good. I'm going to go back with this light green. This number is 54 if you have that set. And like I said, I'm really just being careful. I don't want to add a whole lot of green to those petals. I really like this technique. And I love this. I love using this technique for flowers because it really makes the background look like it was a floral pattern, a floral background. Very realistic. And because I kind of want this side to be a bit more painterly, I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on it. And you want your brush to be wet. If it's not wet, it's not going to look loose and fluid like this. So if you're feeling like it's a dry brush, meaning you see brush marks, you need more water on your brush. All right, so now I'm going to go back in. I'm going to pull that pigment from the outside to the inside a little bit, like that. Making sure that I'm using my petals, going with the curve of my petals. And sometimes if you can get away with just wetting the petals and the water will just kind of seep in, that's what you want. Now I see that I need some more contrast right here, and that will also help lead in the paint into the petals. I'll show you what I mean. So if I really, you gotta have the right amount of water, but you can see that the water is now going into the background is now seeping into the petals. It's really pretty. Okay, there's my light poinsettias, and I just love how that. All right, so now we can use this yellow. This yellow that I'm using is number 45 with the Kureatake Japanese watercolor. And I'm just dabbing it in. I'm not painting, I'm dabbing. And I'm just dabbing because then I will add water and let it flow a little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to need some more yellow over here. Yellow over here. Okay, that's looking good. Now I'm going to point my brush kind of towards the way where I want the pigment to flow. There, like that. And that just gives it more of a painterly look. Yes, this is a very loose and fluid look, but you can make it that way because the line work of the stamp is just gorgeous. Okay, so it's looking all right, but if you want to take it one step further, this is going to look beautiful the way it is. But if you want to take one more step further, like I did, I took in this darker green, and then I did the same thing again. But what I did was I didn't cover the whole thing like I did. I let it kind of just do its thing. That way you can still see the light green underneath, and you can see the darker green. It just adds that dimension to it that you want. It's so fun to do. I could do this all the time. I like to think that this is like a kind of maybe a technique like Georgia O'Keeffe, if you know Georgia O'Keeffe and her work. I liken that whole light dark value to Georgia O'Keeffe, and I'm grateful for her because without her work, this technique probably would not have came about. So it's fun to learn about art history too. Okay, so there you go. That's looking pretty good. Now on the other side, I'm going to try and keep this under 15 minutes. Let's see. Although I'm a very big stickler on you can't rush art. There's no way you can rush art, so don't try. So if you don't want to see me paint, just fast forward. All right, and now I'm just adding lots of water. And I'm playing with it. I'm not, this is what we call channeling. We're channeling the water to drip kind of off the paper. And if you read Paint Yourself Calm by Jean Haines, which is a super awesome book, this technique is also in here, this channeling the watercolor. But I also learned this technique just from being in Angela Fair's watercolor floral classes, because she does this a lot too. It just gives a really nice, beautiful, organic look to flowers. And I am tilting my board because I want the water to run down. But I want to try and keep the floral as white as I can. So you really just paint everything but the flower. And if you, again, the watercolor wants to go wherever water is. So if there's no water, it's not going to go there. Water attracts water. That's the best way I can explain it. There, I like that. All right, and then when I'm done, I just drip off because I don't really need that extra paint. And there we have it. There is our paint. There it is. Now, the yellow is looking a little bit lighter than I would like. So I'm going to go back in and add just a little bit more yellow. Don't want a whole lot. And I'm going to do that same process again where I dab it and then pull it. Yeah, I don't know, I'm excited. I'm kind of to the point with Christmas cards where um, the Christmas cards I need to send are probably to people that I love the most because I've sent all the other Christmas cards to those that, or they're earmarked for the people that I want to send a Christmas card to. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, my husband needs a card from me and my kids, and it's just fun. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna call that done. What do you think? I think it looks beautiful. I think it'll look stunning when you're finished with it. But there you go. 3 colors, very monochromatic, but it is also very stunning. And when it dries, it should look like that. And the light is there. That's a little better. So that's what it will look like. Isn't that gorgeous? And then I just use the may the birth of Christ bring you hope and peace, and that's from the Blue Night stamp set. Come, let us adore him. And then the poinsettia one was from Blue Night stamp. So we learned how to mask. We learned how to do a wash. We learned how to channel our watercolor, and we learned how to negative paint. So there you go. Lots of techniques in this video. I hope it helped. I hope you can paint something like this. It's really fun to do, and enjoy your Christmas season. Thanks for watching.